Hi everyone, welcome to GM Orunja's channel. In this video, I would like to show you guys my first win against a Grandmaster. This was many years ago. Back in 2004, I was playing in the World Youth Olympiad. I was representing India and we were paired against Uzbekistan team, and my opponent was already a Grandmaster at the age of 16. It was Timur Garib, who's quite popular Grandmaster in US here, and he has made world records in playing multiple blindfold games. Definitely a great player, and well, I should say, like, on my side, I was a bit lucky to have a great coach at that time. We had a Russian Grandmaster, Maxim Sorokin. He was our Indian team trainer, and he taught me a very interesting idea in the opening. And based on that, I got a very good idea in the opening, and at one point I came up with a spectacular queen sacrifice, and I went on to win the game. So I think that makes this game even more special, and I would like to share that with you, all of you. Let's get started. So d4, d5, I used to play the queen's gambit declined extensively at the time, and bishop e7 and cd5, ed5. I think all these were natural moves. And this bishop d6 idea was the idea that was recommended by my trainer at that point. And we continued with some natural moves. I think bishop d6, queen d6 is the natural way to go. And probably because my opponent wanted to beat me, he wanted to keep some tension in the game, he decided to go bishop g3. I think natural follow-up is knight f6, but I decided to go knight e7. e3, bishop f5. But I was very happy to trade off this bishop on f1 for the bishop on f5 that happens. And my opponent continued with queen d2, short castle, knight f3, knight g6. I'm still trying to find a way to develop the knight on b8 because I'm not able to do knight d7 because bishop d6 is hanging. Bishop e2, queen e7, followed by knight d7. Finally, I was able to complete my development, and we came across an interesting moment like this. When we reached this position, I was quite comfortable about my opening play, and the outcome was pretty good for black. And as you can see, black has no issues in this position and can look forward into a healthy middle game position. I played a natural move, rook a e8, and my opponent also made a natural move. And here I had to come up with a plan because rook a e8 is just a normal move, like trying to get the rook to the king side, but it actually doesn't really do anything. But nevertheless, here I found a good plan. I wanted to attack on the king side. I started off with h5. My opponent reacted to that with knight f4. And here we come across a very weird pawn structure. And I continued with g6, stabilizing the king side, and rook of e1, knight g4. And this is where I think for the first time white starts to feel the pressure, because here suddenly the queen h4, queen f2, queen h4, queen h2 threats are coming in, and he decided to give away his bishop. But once again, it's not over, because we see like ideas like queen h4, king g7, rook h8 coming in, and the attack against the white king starts. So he decided to stop that with g3. The moment he plays g3, some unpleasant feeling comes in, because you see that all the light squares are weakened on the king side, and you have a light squared bishop, but white's missing the light squared bishops. Hence I decided to come up with bishop e4, knight e4, queen e4. Now again king g7, rook h8, rook h1 or queen h1 checkmate threats are coming in. And I think until now, even now, I think my opponent didn't really believe that his position is getting worse move after move. And he comes up with one last idea, which is rook c3. Probably he was trying to trade off the queen with queen c2 next move. He could have done this queen c2 right away, but I had queen f3. Like, for example, in this case, queen c2 could be met with queen f3, and even if he tries to play queen e2, queen at f3, I might still have an annoying pawn on f3. Hence, he decided to go rook c3 in this position. His idea was queen c2, queen f3 could be met with e4. That's basically traps the queen. So I played king g7. And here queen c2 was met with queen f3, not fearing e4. This was the one idea I could be proud of. The point is e4 is met with rook into e4, and number one, rook takes f3 is met with rook e1 followed by rook h8. The point is threatening rook h1 followed by rook h2 checkmate. But apart from this, there was one more idea. This I already initially anticipated, but I think I didn't really. I mean, I thought like there was one more plan that White had, which was rook e3. This was actually a little more concerning for me, but eventually I figured out rook h8 followed by rook e1. This is once again a pretty mate. So these were the lines that I had to figure out when I played queen f3. I think I figured out more or less when I played king g7 itself. So I was waiting for my opponent to go queen c2, queen f3 so I can show my idea, and I played rook into e4. And obviously rook f3 or rook e3 like ends in quick checkmate. Hence my opponent played rook into e4 and he traded off the queens in this position. And we head into rook endgame with an extra pawn for black. Okay, I have to admit my play was not very precise from here, but still it was good enough for me to win the game nevertheless. So some natural moves are, as you can see, like I have a much more healthier pawn structure and the pawn on d4 is more vulnerable. Yeah, I was able to completely activate my pieces eventually with, I think there was one move I played c5 because the rook on b8 has to become active. Like you can't end up winning the game with the passive rook alone. So c5, bc5, bc5, going after the b2 pawn. And rook d2 was met with rook b7 with the idea of rook d7 at some point. c4, suppose a3 was another interesting idea. The point is to create the double pawns which I can easily collect with rook a7. And yeah, I had to be a little careful not to trade off the rooks in this position because I think the endgame is still not very clear. The king and pawn endgame. But somewhere here, I think after activating my king, basically there was nothing, and yeah, and that is how my win against a Grandmaster. This was my first win against a Grandmaster, which was definitely a great feeling. I mean, my opponent certainly definitely a very strong player, a great player. Maybe it was because of the initial moves. He wanted to beat me and he made a few concessions which eventually costed him the game. So I think it was an interesting game for me, and I hope you all can also learn from this. And I think we'll end this video at this point, and I'll catch you all in another video then.